Hi guys, welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another Premier Division show. I'm Keith. This is JP. JP, how are you this week?
Aye, all good, all good.
All good, all good. We'll start off at the Brandywell. Derry City had a brilliant win against Dundalk, 4 goals to 1. Pat Hooban didn't play, so there was no double hat trick, but a very good win for Derry on the night. O'Reilly scored in 31, Patchin in 46, which was a typical Patchin tap in, I suppose you could say. Mullen on 58 and Duffy on 65. O'Kane scored a late one for Dundalk on 75. But before we get into the performance, I suppose the big news since is that obviously Stephen O'Donnell lost his job on Monday following this game. And obviously the Dundalk board felt like they had to act. Dundalk are bottom of the league after 8 games and 3 points. Drogheda, for example, are on 7. And Bowes just ahead of them, for example, are on 10. Was this the right decision, do you think? Were the board backed into a corner a little bit? How do you feel about it?
Um, Keith, it probably did have to happen to be honest. But I don't think it's all Stevie's fault. I think the board they have to take not the new board. I think you can maybe look at the old board from last year, like and where do they go from here? Like who's going to take it is basically the question you have to ask yourself. When they say who you get rid of them, whatever, who's there to take over. Sometimes you just need a fresh face around, fresh ideas, etc., and that could sometimes spark a reaction, and they need it really quickly, because they were almost 6 points adrift after the first set of matches before that late leveler for Shelbourne. Um, it probably was the right decision, but look, I'm sure when Stevie looks back on it, and he'll probably not regret this decision leaving Pats a couple of years ago. They take it, but I feel that he was probably he was sold an idea that was probably never going to materialize, and he bought it. And look, you live by your mistakes, and I'm sure this is certainly one of them. And look, it had to happen. Reminded me a wee bit like the Declan Devine situation a couple of years ago with Derry. Although Derry were in a wee bit more stable footing off the
Mm.
field than what Dundalk seemed to be, and we just don't know where they go from here because we don't know. We know Brian Ainscough is the owner, but we don't know who's coming in behind him. They support him, and until that's all sorted out, then it's just looking bleak for Dundalk.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks and we kind of felt it was inevitable this was going to happen. And we've
Yeah.
mentioned how we don't really think it's completely the manager's fault, but we probably felt like it was a case of, if this continued, and obviously it had continued again on Friday as well, that they feel like they've no choice, like they have to act. And it could be
Yeah.
a case of you say a new manager could come in and might make the blind bit of difference because we've talked about the quality players and stuff like that and other bits and pieces. But they probably need to test that theory a little bit, I suppose, the main thing, really, isn't it?
Aye, like if they keep going with Stevie and it's not working, then they could look if the kid maybe went another 9 games with them and they were even further apart, then they would probably look back and say we should have acted then. And uh, um, but they've acted now. They've given themselves 3 quarters of the season. They try and rectify it. New guy comes in, maybe stabilizes it, keeps them within a few points of ninth, and get them the July, and see where they are at as their investors there. Can they invest in better players? Can, can they work with the players that they have? We know Darrell Horgan and Robbie Benson still there. Probably not the same players as say probably. They're definitely not the same players as what they were in their previous spells at Dundalk, but they do have a lot of experience there, and um you get the right players around them, they could help them. And look, Stephen O'Donnell on Friday night, he looked like a broken man, to be honest.
Mm. You were actually
He just
speaking to me about that, I think, before the sacking, actually. We were
yeah,
talking about the game and, like, privately or whatever, and you mentioned that to me. It might have been that night or the next day, I can't
mhm,
remember, but you were actually saying that, which is interesting. And of course, he gets
yeah,
sacked on the Monday, like.
yeah. He just looked a broken man. He never stopped for the 90 minutes, Keith. He kept trying to encourage his players, and it was kind of, does he believe that they could get something out of it? Probably not. But once if he loses belief, if he shows that he's lost the belief in his players, then they're definitely going to they definitely pick up on that, and you have to try and remain positive even in the darkest of times, and I think that's what Stevie was trying to do, even though you could tell he was a broken man. And look, he'll go away now, and he'll reflect on his time, and hopefully we see him back in the managerial scene in the not too distant future.
Yeah, on to Derry City, JP, and from their point of view, very good performance, I suppose. Particularly in the second half, they scored 3 goals, obviously, in the second half, and created a number of opportunities to score in the game. Some good performances, I suppose. From your point of view and Derry's point of view, very important to get back in the winning trail. Second in the league, 6 points off Shelbourne, and a convincing win at the end. I think you'd mentioned they needed a convincing win, and it was a convincing win, to be fair, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Was actually chatting to somebody today, and we discussed it. It's very very few times this season Derry have scored when they were on top. Um, in tight games, like
Mm.
obviously with that Waterford game, Derry get the first goal in any game, Keith. It opens the game right up, and that's when Derry can be at their best, and that's what they did against Dundalk. Was they got a goal after half an hour, and from that moment forward, you just knew that Derry were going to come out winners, and the way they come out in the second half, they just came out of the blocks straight for the throat, scored the opening goal, and scored the goal in the opening seconds of the second half, and um, it was a great strike by Walt Patson. As you say, it's a tap in from his point of view. Delighted to see Danny Mullen get another goal. That's three for him, and
That was a good finish as well. A lot of power in that.
an
His left
excellent
foot.
finish. Doesn't get a lot of credit, Danny. I don't think. I think a
He's
lot of
done
people
okay,
will.
hasn't he? In fairness, for a
He has,
second
yeah.
striker. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done okay. He scored the winning goal against Pats.
Oh,
Scored
yeah.
the nearly turned out with a winner at Shamrock Rovers. Scored now against Dundalk. So just proves if you do give him the right service, he'll score goals. Same as Pat Hoban. Maybe not be as prolific, but he can be as effective. And Michael Duffy with a deflected strike from off Dara Horgan. But look, it's what Derry. I think Derry haven't done enough this season. Keith is shoot from the edge of the box.
I mean, to have the players capable of doing
They
so,
do.
like, you know.
But the Danny Mullen goal was. You have to talk about the patching or the Adam O'Reilly, the opening goal was a great
Mm,
bit of play from
mm.
Paul McMullen down the byline, pulled it back. Danny Mullen just shields the ball away from the defender and allows Adam. I think Adam gave Mickey Duffy the shout. Flex as well and goes past the keeper. But when you've had a couple of performances that Derry had, when you had a couple of performances that Derry had, you take all the luck that you can get to get yourself the opening goal. They settle the game down, and that's what they got. And um, like you have to, I was really impressed by Danny Mullen and Friday night, and people will turn around and say, "Sure, it's only Dundalk," but look, it's a Dundalk team that Shamrock Rovers drew with. It's a Dundalk team that although Shelbourne beat, they
Mm.
didn't beat. They beat them 2-1. I'm not sure how comfortable it was for Shelbourne in that game, but you just have to. I think did Pats so struggle against them too, Keith? Did they beat
A
them?
wee bit, yeah. 1-0. They won 1-0. They probably could have had a few more, but to be honest with you, but like, look, you still have to go out and beat these teams,
Enough to
JP.
go
That's
out
the
and beat
point
them,
with Derry's point of view, and they did
and
convincingly. So, what more can you
and
ask for?
exactly, and we don't know how long Pat Hoban's going to be out for. We're hoping it's not too long, and players have to step up the mark, and they certainly did that on Friday night.
At Park, it finished Bohemians 0, Waterford FC 1, and I suppose Waterford at times first win in I think 4 games, I think it was, but very good win for them. Padraig Amond with a beautiful finish actually in 31 minutes. That's not an easy finish. Like he's kind of at an angle at the near post, and it's a lovely finish with his left foot. Bowles will be disappointed because they had about 9 players in the box, and yeah, Amon gets some space, but still a well worked free kick actually from Waterford. You're usually expecting them to lump it in, a team to lump that in, but they actually work it well. To be fair, maybe that caught Bowles out a little bit, but great finish from him. Sargent did make some good saves in the game for Waterford too. In fairness, Dale Rooney had 1 or 2 opportunities. There were a few headers, I think, from Jevon Mills. But Bowles ultimately probably at best deserved a point from the game, and it's a massive win for Waterford. Keith Long obviously winning the battle against Alan Reynolds as well, and disappointing from Bowles from their point of view, obviously. But Alan Reynolds' first game at Dalymount, and it's a defeat, and they got they've had 3 games with him in charge now, and 2 defeats. So maybe that's a warning a little bit to Dundalk as well, if that makes sense too. That look, the squad of players is the main issue here, and obviously Reynolds will take him time. I'll be watching these actually against Bowles or against Shelbourne on Friday, and I'm very interested to see if there's any little subtle differences I can see quickly compared to when Devine was there. So that's going to be interesting, I think. But yeah, disappointing defeat for them. Very good defeat for Waterford. They leapfrog Bowles in the table now, and they leapfrog Galway, who promoted with them last season.
Yeah, Waterford, they'll be delighted. Like they, as you say, the 3 defeats and 1 draw in their last 4 games, and the draw came away at Dundalk, which they were probably disappointed with, to be honest.
And actually, to be honest, they could have lost that game. In all honesty, Dundalk
Yeah,
had decent chances, but anyway, yeah.
and so they'd be delighted they get off with a win in Dalymount. I know we tipped them to lose it, but it was just purely because of the Alan Reynolds situation. We thought Reynolds would have had Bowles well drilled and up the scratch. On how Waterford play, but look, it's a great finish by Padraig Amond. I talked about the Horgan and Benson having experience for the Dundalk team, and he's showed his experience there. Like a great bit of movement, receives a pass, ball out of his feet, and bang, 1-0. Because there was a very similar chance for Bohemians in the second half. I can't remember who it was, but they got the ball out of their feet and took another touch. It might have been let on in the highlights. I can't remember, but
Might have been Dale Rooney, but anyway, yeah, I'm not too sure. Can't remember.
Very similar situation where go past the defender, ball at his feet, you're expecting a shot, doesn't come, and then
no, it's Reinhardt. Sorry, Reinhardt. Yeah.
And we saw in the first game against Sligo the finish that he produced. So he does have it on his locker. It's just about getting that shot off early, and that's what Padraig Amond did. And
I think it was a lesson in as well to players that you don't necessarily have to be fast to get into a good position. Do you know what I mean? Either.
Yeah, exactly. You just need to hit. You just need to have the know-how or the brain on. It's like Pat Hoban at Derry, probably similar. He'll not have the pace that he maybe once had, but he'll have all the knowledge and know-how to.
I don't think Pat ever had that much pace. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying.
And I think it's going to be a very interesting battle for the Golden Boot this year. Between these, I think these Padraig Amond and Pat Hoban, if Hoban can get back fit and stay fit, I think them two will be really up there in terms of getting the Golden Boot. And look, it was a great finish from him. And as you say, Bowes had their chances. They even before half time they had a few chances. They get back on level terms, but didn't quite take them. And
one thing I'll say, JP, what's interesting in the first couple of games, they seem to be creating chances from set pieces. Yeah. That seems to be new all of a sudden. We all know that Reynolds and Waterford, people watching this will know themselves. He's very good at he has this reputation of being very good at setting up set piece play defensively and offensively. And it's just notable that obviously scored a couple of goals, didn't they, against Galway from set pieces, and they had 2 chances from corners in this game with Jevon Mills actually as well. So I don't know, that's hardly a coincidence, surely.
No. It'll be interesting to see going forward, as you say. Look, you need to utilize your set pieces. I think in any at some point in the season, you're going to have to your set pieces are going to have to get you out of big holes. I think
St. Pat's back in the day, JP, were called set piece athletic.
Yeah. I think a couple of years ago, when Derry won the cup, it was. I'm trying to. I
It
think
just gets you by a tight game, JP,
uh,
can't it? When a
yeah,
team
it does.
defends
Like,
well and stuff, and all of a
I
sudden you can get a header from a
yeah,
corner, can nick you a lot of 3 points throughout the season, grind out results that way almost, you know?
like when Derry won the cup a couple of years ago, they played Shamrock Rovers in the quarter final. It was a corner, and it was scored by Danny Lafferty at the back post, and that was an extra time, and that gave Derry the 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 boost then to go forward and won it in the second half of extra time. And I think as well a couple of league games with a couple of free kicks that was scored at the back post as well. Um, Maybe I think James Akintunde maybe got a point for us against Dundalk at one stage, and that was crucial in keeping us above Dundalk in the league. Like so, yeah. But look, I think Bowes will be okay under Alan Reynolds. I think he'll be able to stabilize this group of players and get his own players in due course over the next few transfer windows or whatever. But I think we can see now that Waterford are they're not here to make up our numbers. They're
Definitely
definitely here
not.
to compete.
Yeah, and Keith Long, I'm sure, would have been delighted with that one. His first visit to Dalymount as well, wasn't it? So, yeah, he would have been really happy with that. Weavers Park, Drogheda finished Drogheda United 2, Shelbourne 2, Oisin Gallagher in 21, Mark Coyle in 45, right in half time. Evan Weir another free kick, though deflected, but still on 70 minutes. And Sean Boyd with typical kind of Sean Boyd type goal equaliser. 4 minutes into injury time to give Shelbourne a point when it looked like they were heading for a defeat. Obviously, Shelbourne be the more pleased with the point in the end. We felt this might be a tricky game for them, to be honest. Drogheda will be disappointed to concede 2 goals on right in half time and in 90 minutes. I think the one right in half time to concede as well. Mark Coyle does well, don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
And I know in the commentary they were kind of having a go at the
Yeah,
goalkeeper, but I thought, to be honest, Jack Keeney should have been able to clear that because he's trying to shield it
yeah,
off for the keeper. But I always
yeah.
think from a defender's point of view, if the ball's there to be
Clearly,
cleared, clear and ask questions later. If the keeper
get
didn't come
rid of
out
it.
early enough, say it to him after and say, look, you need to come out quicker. But if you can get to clear the ball, he could have cleared the ball.
Especially that close to half time, Keith.
Yeah,
Like
he could have
as
cleared
I
it.
was as I was watching it, I thought it was a really good goal from Shelbourne's point of view, and
Oh,
Mark
no, it
was.
was. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, yeah. Coyle does
I
very
think
well, and he's actually been
definitely,
brilliant this season.
definitely. I think
Mm,
if Derry had conceded that kind of goal,
mm,
I'd be really
mm,
disappointed with us because
mm. Or if
it
Paddy
wasn't
Barrett had done that at the other end or something,
it,
Shelbourne would be
wa- it
disappointed, you know?
wasn't just one or
Mm,
two men he got past. I think it was near
mm,
enough the whole defence, and
mm.
there was 4 or 5 men could have stopped him. To be honest, but
I just
with the
think by
way
the
he
time you get into that position,
ball up
Keeney
and
actually is in a position he could have cleared it.
yeah, yeah, but the
Point.
way he flicked the ball up and then knocked it
Mm,
through, there was two or three of them could have got rid of it before then, and then
mm,
they were saying that the goalkeeper should have been coming out there and making himself get hurt. But there's also a situation he comes out there, doesn't get the ball,
mm,
gives away a penalty, and then he's sent off and drawn her down to 10 men. So look,
mm.
the concession of the goal, uh, the concession of goal,
He also
meant
thinks maybe if he comes out a bit as well, there might be an easy clip over the goalkeeper, you know?
yeah, yeah,
You
and in the end, he did clip it over him with a great finish. But
he did actually, yeah.
again, Evan Weir, he scored a
Mm.
deflected free kick in the Brandywell. He scored one against Bows, didn't he, from near enough the halfway line. He went all the way
Oh,
in, and now
yeah.
this,
Yeah.
yeah, and now
Yeah.
this one, like, and this, hey, the way it is it's not if you get them on target, all it needs is a bit of piss. All it needs is a bit of a touch, and
Mm.
it's past the goalkeeper, and um, they'll be extremely disappointed how they conceded that.
Would have been a
Uh,
massive 3 points, not only to beat the team, they're top of the league and still top of the league, but they would have been on nine
yeah, and
points.
six
That's a
points clear
massive
Dundalk, like,
difference. Yeah.
yeah, and but it was the way it was conceded. It was a header. It wasn't a powerful header from edge of box, and it seemed like it went in at slow motion as well. So I think the goalkeeper were maybe
Mm.
disappointed.
Again,
Um,
I think he looks like he's watching the ball, and he completely mistimes the flight of the ball, whereas Sean
yeah,
Boyd seems to actually be he seems to time the flight of the ball, if that makes
yeah,
sense. And
and
Khan
it
just
just
seems to
seemed that
be, I don't know, he loses it somehow. And a brilliant header by Boyd once he gets there, by the
yeah,
way. It's an excellent header.
of an excellent header, yeah,
Yeah.
but I think it's just from a Drogheda point of view, it just looked like it went in at slow motion, and the keeper's
Mm,
he was out of position. He couldn't get himself back.
mm.
They get rid of it. But look, we can't talk about this game, Keith, without
Yeah,
sending our wishes to Dermot Broughton. I hope he's well on the way to recovery, and we see him back on the line very soon. I know there's been a lot of said over the incident over the weekend, but
mm.
we don't want to see officials
No.
getting hit anything, especially smoke bombs. We don't want to see players. We saw it from Bulls fans earlier in the
Mm,
season where a player hit their own player. And
mm.
um, look, send my best wishes to Dermot Broughton.
Absolutely. No, it's not as you say, you don't want to see this. And, I'm sure that this young lad didn't throw the linesman on purpose. But the problem is, I think a lot of the time, JP, I see this a lot, without going too deep in it because we'd be here all day. But there's a lot of young lads who have flares that simply don't know how to use them. They panic
Yeah,
and they throw them away. I'm pretty sure that's what happened here.
yeah,
They need to understand that if you're using the flare, just put it down safely on the ground. The flare will fizzle out. And most of the time you see it's not within the ultra groups. It's like these
mm,
little young lads outside of that, if that makes sense. The ultra
yeah,
groups know
yeah,
how to use the flares. They do. They
yeah.
know how to use them. But these guys that don't. And that's the biggest issue, I think, in my opinion. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure what clubs are expected to do about this as well, because when you're getting
Mm.
searched as well, there's only so much they can
You
search
can
you.
search. Yeah,
What kind of if clubs are getting fined and getting bans, etc., etc., and it's different if a number of things happen at a club and it leads to that. But if it's happening just like isolated incidents, what are I'm not sure what clubs are supposed to do about it. If I'm honest with you, I don't know what they can do about it.
no, I know
And it doesn't even
probably
have to be a flare; it can be just an object of some sort.
it's probably one of those situations that you're hoping that it dies out and eventually goes away, and people get fed up of lighting them, or eventually they begin to listen to their clubs and stuff like
Mm,
that. So look, we haven't had one lit in the Brandywell, I think, since
mm,
last season, and it's part of it's down to the, the new security team in the
mm,
Brandywell. Without getting too deep into that too, because
mm.
that's a bit of a red herring as well.
Yeah.
But as you say, like, do we? It'll be like going to a football match, be like going into an airport. To be walking through a body scanner to see what you have inside you. Like, and we don't want that. We want to go support our club, win, lose or draw, and go home again at the
It'll
end of the
take
night.
an hour to get people through anyway, so
Oh, exactly,
no, I don't know.
exactly.
I just don't know. I might talk about it more in the vlog. I don't know at the weekend. But anyway, get on to the last game. St Patrick's Lake beat Shamrock Rovers 2-1 in the South Dublin Derby. And all of a sudden, JP Pats are going to win the league now again. Uh, no. I was at this one, and to be honest with you, I have to say the game as a whole was actually probably the highest quality game I've seen this season on live. Do you know what I mean? It was a very good game of football. Shamrock Rovers in the first half were absolutely outstanding. Like I was actually in awe of them at times. Their passing and their movement. Um, it was brilliant, and it wasn't that Pats were bad. They just you're looking at them kind of going, no one can cope. And when Shamrock Rovers play like that, I don't think anyone, including Derry, if I'm honest, JP, are capable of playing the way they played, if you know what I mean. And they're still missing Lee Grace. Kenny Gaffney are unavailable, so there's no other option apart from Green to come on or whatever. Obviously Jack Byrne, Ferrugia, and then Clark came on. And the only thing from their point of view, Nugent scores after 4 minutes, a good header after a great ball in for Darragh Burns. The only thing missing, they didn't get a second goal. Dylan Watts had a great chance. He hit the bar, a couple of chances here and there. In fairness to Pass, they still had chances in the first half despite that. Rory Keating had a very good chance. Was left foot, he hits wide. And I think it was Brandon Kavanagh after a good cross from Breslin where the keeper Pauls makes a decent save.
Thought
Um,
that Keaton chance you talked about there, I was going back to
hmm.
similar to the Bulls chance. Was one M one where he took an extra touch, I feel. He took it early, he could have
I thought
scored.
he could have opened up from the angle I was at the game with his right foot. I was surprised he
Yeah.
took it on his left. He had a chance to take a quick touch and right. I don't know, maybe a little bit of confidence is missing there, but he went off injured. But I'm not sure of how long he's going to be out for. But Mason Mealy came on, interestingly, ahead of Keane Cavan at that time. But half time then, and Pat scored two early goals. Joe Redmond free kick, brilliant ball in by Kavanagh. Header on 53. Nolan 56 after good work from Kavanagh after a mistake from Poles. But Pats at that point were pressing up actually high in the first half. They weren't doing that. Poles does make a mistake, to be fair, but Kavanagh capitalises and Nolan. Poles finished from Nolan. Second half, Rovers had most of the ball, but Pats did look more dangerous at times. Sean Hoare had a great chance at the end though, straight at Danny Rogers. Another great ball in by Darragh Burns as well. But a really high quality game, and as I said, Rovers were unbelievable in that first half, but you'd probably have to give credit for Pats to come back and win the game, because it's not easy to go one down against Rovers and come back and beat them, in fairness, is it?
No, it's not. No, Derry found that out a few weeks ago.
Mm.
So fair play to Pats. They held on. I was reading Stephen Bradley's comments over the weekend, and he said for 45 minutes they were on it.
They were brilliant.
For,
And I'm not exaggerating or being, you know what I mean? They were absolutely outstanding that first 45 minutes. They're moving. Graham Burke.
He said between first 45 minutes they were on it. Then
Yeah.
from minutes 65 to 90 they were back on it. It was just that 15, 20 minutes in between is where they lost the game. And he says if you're not on it for 90 minutes in this game, or in this league, you can lose games very easily. And he was 100% right. But
Yeah.
Rovers they'd be disappointed that they didn't at least have a second goal. They go on at half time, like that chance. They took the lead after 4, and then they had that chance
12
in
or
12
something.
minutes where they hit the bar, like, and then
Yeah.
I was when another chance came along. I was watching the highlights, and I had kept looking at the scoreboard and the clock to see
Mm.
many minutes, and like I was surprised at the amount of chances for between both teams it was coming, and it was a 10-minute long clip of highlights, so just shows you.
Yeah, I would say they probably got everything in the highlights. I can't really think of anything, because usually I'm critical of the highlights in that sense, but I think they got everything in, really. Yeah.
Just shows how high of a quality a game it must have been for highlights really to go on that long.
Just the
And
tempo, JP. Just the tempo. Rovers generally were better with the ball, but when they play like that, they're better than anyone with the ball. But Pat's intensity was very high at the same time, and obviously they got the goals. But there was a call for a possible penalty for a possible foul on Josh Hoonahan. What do you think about that one?
there is a slight tug on the shirt,
Yeah,
but
from Luke Turner. Yeah.
what I will say is he's got a chance to score unless the ball's getting away from him. Why would he go down?
Mm.
That's what I will say.
Mm.
Was there enough contact to bring him down? I don't know. So look, I'm
Mm.
not a. I don't
I've seen those type
personally.
of tugs, of them all honesty, not really
It's
given
a
more often than not.
it's a very, very similar tug.
Mm.
That's if you remember back to last season where Shane McElhinney put on the Rovers player Graham Burke, was it?
Mm.
And Rovers got it that night. So to me, I think it was very, very similar.
I would say
And
though, from Luke Turner's point of view, you have to be a little bit careful there as well, because you could give the referee an excuse. You know what I mean, as well.
Rovers, because of that sort of incident that I talked about last year, they
Mm.
could maybe feel themselves unlucky.
Mm.
Not they've got a penalty, but
Mm.
for some parts, they'd be delighted because that's 2-1 in a row now, and they'd lost. Was it 4 out of
Oh, they lost
4
four.
out of
They've lost
5
four of
matches?
the first, was it 9 matches? But yeah.
They'd lost 4 out of 5 before
Mm.
they got a draw
Yeah,
away at Drogheda.
exactly.
Now they've two wins under their belt now, like, and one
And
of them
obviously
against.
beating Shamrock Rovers, you would think helps
Yeah, so
them with confidence and
beating
stuff like
Rovers
that.
will give them a bit of confidence going
Mm.
into the next match now on Friday night.
Yeah, yeah. And what was I going to say? Yeah, I was going to talk about Brandon Kavanagh there, because I've talked about him before, but funnily enough, I had him down as a key man ahead of the match on Darragh Burns, and Kavanagh ends up with 2 assists. Darragh Burns ended up with 1 assist, and one where he could have easily assisted that good ball in for Sean Hoare. But obviously you as a Derry fan, like what do you think? What's his I suppose his key attributes in your opinion?
Getting on the ball, he
Yeah.
makes things happen.
Mm.
He was now. I don't think he played enough
Mm.
at Derry across his 2 years.
Mm.
But when he did get on the ball, especially in the central areas, that's when he was at his best.
Mm.
Um, a couple of I think we played, was it Sligo, I think, last year, and he had a great assist for Jamie McGonigal. He just played in between the lines and played the ball, and McGonigal with a fine finish. And at that point, McGonigal was under pressure from certain elements of he's not scoring goals, and Kavanagh too, and the two of them linked up and scored a great goal in that game. So yeah, I think he'll do well. I think with Brandon, if you play him, he'll play his way. He'll play his way in the form, and I just don't think he got enough of games to be able to do that at Derry. But I certainly had no complaints with him while he was at Derry, because I really did like him as a player now. So I did.
I think that's about 4 assists in the last 3 or 4 games, to be honest. But look, lads, we'll leave it there. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think of the comments as usual. Subscribe to the channel, and thanks for JP for coming on again. Brilliant.
Thanks, Keith.
Excellent.